Live from CES, it's Dual Boot Diaries, the weekly podcast where two longtime Windows users learn to use Linux daily. I am one of your hosts, Adam Patrick Murray.
I'm your other host, Will Smith, and we're not Linux experts, at least not yet. We're kind of working on it, though, it seems like. So I guess I should speak for myself. Each week, though, we go through our experiences of using Linux daily, with the whole show culminating in us deleting either our Windows or our Linux partitions and moving on with our lives. And I'm curious how we had a holiday break. We had a couple of weeks off. I don't know about you. I did some Linux futzing, Adam.
I did a lot of it, too, yeah. A little bit of housekeeping. I know we had promised we were going to do something like maybe live or something when we come back, but tell you the truth, I was having way too much fun vacationing, and I was like, well, we've got the Ed interview, which was a good interview.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to it if you haven't. And then I was like, you know what, so instead, because we were actually, I was going to skip this week because I was like, I'm way too busy. But then I was like, you know what, man. I am going to set aside time to check in from CES. So yeah, I'm literally in my hotel room. Sorry about the webcam and the,
Thanks for making your bed.
Well, I didn't make the bed. That was housekeeping. But yeah, so I'm here. I'm tired. This is day 2 of 5 hours of sleep, but I've been here for 4 days.
You look a little pale. Loopy. You look like you might have the consumption, Adam.
Well, no, part of it's this. I have a one of those mirrors in front of me with the makeup lighting. So,
wow! So
I look pretty. But yeah, no, I'm here. We will get into. I want to build the tension on if I have been able to use Linux like I've wanted to during this trade show, but I'm not going to get to it yet.
Okay.
No spoilers. First, I think we should talk about our holiday.
Yeah.
Because that was a good 2 weeks, and I got a lot done. I don't know about you.
I didn't touch any computers for the first week, basically.
Oh, okay. Well, that's nice.
Because Dad Christmas, pretty busy time, it turns out.
Yeah.
We do a lot of we went ice skating and went and saw the life-size gingerbread house at the Fairmont, had lunch with some friends, all that kind of stuff.
Hey, we went to the Taco Bell on the beach for the first, or it was my first time, so
I go there all the time.
I got to see you over the break. I had to see you over the break. Jeez.
We didn't see any whales, though. I was looking for whales while we were at the beach, but
I mean, not the ones in the water.
No.
But yeah. Anyway, tell me.
Yeah.
Will, what have you been working on since I last saw you?
So, I built that machine on the last Full Nerd stream of the year, or last PCWorld stream of the year.
Your streaming machine, your tiny streaming machine.
A small form factor streaming machine. So it's I tested out a bunch of USB capture cards earlier this year. We did a video about that where we talked about how they worked and whether they were suitable compared to internal PCI Express cards. And the TLDR from that, if you didn't watch that video, is that the USB capture cards from Elgato and Avermedia and those types of companies were much, much better supported than the installed PCI Express capture cards in Linux.
Okay.
So that was phase 1 of this process. Phase 2 was looking at the CPUs and stuff, and I picked out an Intel 265K, which is one of the Core 2 Ultra Arrow Lake processors.
Like the newest generation.
And a B860 board from Asus. I think it's a Strix I. I can't remember exactly which one. And I took it home, built it, and installed Ubuntu Studio on it over the break, which was an interesting experience because I haven't used Ubuntu in a minute, or at least on a desktop. Ubuntu Studio, for folks who don't know, is their kind of spin of the default install that has tools tailored for creators. So it has video editors. It has a really, really robust audio backend and includes stuff like if you switch the audio to the pro mode, it uses the pipewire routing, so you can do patch cable style routing in and out from devices that know how to speak that API. And then the ones that don't, you can hook them up just to the normal ALSA or pipewire interfaces. So the upshot is, when it works, you can open up OBS and you can say, okay, I have these 5 audio inputs into OBS and they're all labeled and named. And then you can drag those from my Behringer XR18 mixer, which is an 18 port digital mixer. And I can connect individual lines in and out so that I get individual dials on levels for everything in OBS, which is fantastic. Really, really nice. And so I set up that I used Patch Chance, which I think is supposed to sound like Fat Chance, but it's
like
a patch, PATCHANCE.
Oh,
It's a graphical audio router, and like basically you drag from inputs to outputs and outputs to inputs, and it's really straightforward and pretty easy to use once you understand what's going on. The problem with OBS and Ubuntu is that the versions of Ubuntu that are there don't have native OBSs. Like, so when I tried to run the latest version of Ubuntu, which I needed for this machine, which is Noble 2510, I think is the version number. The version of Ubuntu that Ubuntu recommends for that is a flat. Hold on, there's two different things. Ubuntu recommends you use snaps, which is politically fraught. We've talked about snaps a little bit. It's kind of their version of a flat pack. And the snap is missing some features, some key stuff.
The OBS version of the snap.
The snap for OBS for Ubuntu is missing. I can't remember. It's either the browser source plugin, which lets you do overlays on Twitch, the things that say, hey, thanks for giving me money, which is an important part of a Twitch stream. Or it's missing the VLC source, which lets you have a playlist of videos, which I use for my pre-rolls before I start a stream, right? One of those was missing. I ended up installing the Flatpak, and the Flatpak's missing the VLC integration because the Flatpak maintainer who works for OBS doesn't want to fool with maintaining the VLC integration because it's too fraught in the Flatpak. So I kind of struck out there. And then when I did get it up and working, it crashed a lot. Like every time I would fire up a test stream, OBS would crash after like 5 or 6 minutes. So I learned...
Well, real quick, was it repeatable? Was it doing it at the same
It was not at the same time, but it was after 5 minutes of streaming, it would crash pretty reliably.
So not when you're not streaming, like you're just messing around. Like it was specifically when you were streaming.
Desktop was fine, just in OBS. I didn't install OCCT or anything like that to test that, just because I didn't think it was a hardware problem at that point. But I did do a bunch of other testing, and it's worth mentioning. This is an important note. I did take my profiles, which contain like the service information for the stream services that you're using, whether it's Twitch or YouTube or whatever, and my scene collections, which is like the kind of presets for all the things that show up on the screen, the overlays and the pictures and the frames and all that stuff. And I did take both of those from the Windows machine and move them to the Linux machine, which everything I had read led me to believe was a perfectly okay thing to do. Now, there's some problems with that, which we'll talk about in a sec. But the TLDR is I eventually gave up on the Ubuntu Studio install, and I took a old 250 gig SSD that I had here, and I put Cache on it just so I was someplace that I knew how to do everything, and to see if it was an OS problem, to see if it was... Let me take a step back. I started out by running the LTS version of Ubuntu Studio, and then I upgraded that through the 2 non-LTS versions since then to see if it was a problem with the older version of Linux before I started switching OSs, and same problems. On the older version, the LTS version of Linux was running like 2 versions back on OBS, 2 major versions back on OBS, so that was not viable because of that. So anyway, I went through this whole thing. I got it all up and running on Cache. And then I realized that Arch is missing the browser source because the Arch maintainers don't want to support the browser source dependencies. And I got pretty upset about that. And I was like, what am I going to do here? I started looking at Flatpaks and all this stuff. Flatpak was missing the VLC source support, just like the Snap was. And then I was like, oh, wait, Cache just compiles their own OBS that includes the browser support. So I grabbed that from the Cache repo and was up and running and super stoked. So it looks like I'm going to be running Cache everywhere. I thought I was going to try this Ubuntu Studio business, but here we are. Now, I spent a lot of time troubleshooting the crash, and I learned about a lot of things. For example,
so the crash was still happening on Cache.
Crash was still happening on Cache. I learned that you can use sudo journal control, journal CTL -B-0 or -1, and that will show you the logs for the last boot of the machine, not the boot you're currently on, but the one before that. It's an incredibly useful feature because I was able to load up the log from the run that crashed and then scroll down and see exactly what happened. And I used the little caret, the greater than sign to pipe that out to a file so I could send it to some people and get them to look at it. It was incredibly useful. And what I was seeing was a whole buttload of errors attached to both NVIDIA, which is the GPU, and the NVMe that said there were correctable PCI Express errors. So I went through a whole bunch of troubleshooting. The shout outs to the people in the Discord who said, hey, turn off ASPM, and that fixed those errors in the logs. But it didn't fix the crashes. So I kept at it, and I kept a bunch of different things. Eventually, and this is running right now. So I'm let's see, 2 hours into a test stream, I think right now, 2 hours and 20 minutes. It hasn't crashed yet. I think it was bringing the profiles over from Windows OBS left something in the settings that jacked up the Linux version of OBS. Now, there's also things in the scene collections that I had to go manually edit out of the JSON files because any of like the Windows specific audio capture sources, when I click on them in the Linux version of OBS, they just crash. It just crashes all of OBS. The crash that I'm talking about that was causing this larger problem was hanging the entire system. The mouse cursor didn't move. You couldn't control Alt 6 to get to a terminal. You couldn't shell login. You couldn't do any of that stuff. It was hard crashed.
I mean, that would have sounded like a hardware thing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it is a hardware thing, but I think it was OBS doing something illegal to the hardware. I tried different video card. I tried different SSDs. I tried different motherboard. I tried different RAM. I haven't tried a different CPU yet. If it crashes after this run, that'll be next week, I guess. But I think, knock on wood, that I've cracked it here.
Huh.
So, and then the other part of it is setting up like BitFocus Companion to run the Stream Deck. I have that running as a satellite on this one so that all of the configuration happens on my desktop PC. And then this one, it just connects to this Stream Deck, this companion instance remotely, and I can control OBS from the companion instance on my main PC, which is nice.
Okay. So the whole goal of this project was to replace your Windows streaming setup and just make it a simple device that just handles the streaming. Boom, you're done. Don't have to worry about Windows updates. Yeah. Appliance. There we go. That's what I was thinking of. Like, do you think you're there? Like, other than the crashing stuff? No,
not there yet. Once the crashing stuff, I stopped working on the appliance bits when the crashing was happening because if I couldn't work out the crashing, then there was no reason to continue.
True.
The next step for me is figuring out the patchance stuff to figure out the routing, the audio routing, so that happens automatically. There's some weird stuff that happens. For example, the way patchance and Discord interact with each other is a little bit weird. So like on my machine, on my Windows machine right now, Discord goes into a couple inputs on the mixer. The game capture from the main PC goes into a couple inputs on the mixer. My microphone goes into one input. My guest microphone goes into another input. And let's see, the desktop sounds from like Windows that are like the notification sounds on the stream go into the main bus on the system. So what that means is I can adjust like Discord volume and game volume independent of each other, which is really nice when I'm streaming a game and people are like, oh, I can't hear what you're saying, or the people are too loud and you can't hear the game, whatever. I have to figure out how to get that stuff to set up in a robust and permanent way, because Discord tends to generate new hooks each time, and it's not automatically reconnecting to the places I want it to in the patchance stuff. But I think that's probably just a software configuration problem. And it's probably a problem with there's probably a better tool than patchance, would be my guess. There's like more robust DAWs out there that I could be using.
I mean, one of the ones that I know we've both used in the past is like Voice Meter Banana. Like, is that on Linux as well?
No, I'm happy to wash my hands of Voice Meter Banana forever, because it's kind of Voice Meter is great if you have an ASIO interface, and if you don't, Voice Meter is a real mess.
Okay.
Like if you're using Wasapi or one of the other Windows APIs, but like it's the same functionality. It's just a more robust interface with a little bit of less stuff in it. So anyway, that's the main brunt of what I did. I experimented a little bit with remote desktop on Linux and found it kind of janky and fraught, and I put that aside for now. I can't remember what it was called. I used that Rust, the Rust remote desktop thing we talked about last week.
I don't remember.
I don't remember what it's called. Rust Desk is what it's called.
Okay.
And it's fine.
What was the goal, real quick, for the remote desktop?
I wanted to be able to work on the stream machine from the desktop that's sitting in front of the keyboard and mouse. So I didn't have to turn like this the entire time I was working on it. It's
that makes
just
sense.
Convenience. The other thing is I streamed all 3 of the keynotes for, maybe we should save this for the CES segment, but all of the keynotes were streamed from Linux this year for PCWorld.
Nice. Yeah. Let's save that for CES. That's actually, I totally forgot about that. So we can cover that.
So yeah, I think that's the main stuff. I got the Falcata web config working thanks to Thiazide, who posted a way you have to fix the UDEM rules to allow it to talk to the USB, the browser to talk to the USB device at a low level. It's similar to what you do to like get via keyboard programming working on a QMK keyboard. And then the last little thing is that I got Resolve working finally, so I can edit video now. Yeah.
Okay, please. What were the steps? Because I've seen people go crazy about the things you're supposed to do.
I installed the package with Paru for DaVinci Resolve, and then I clicked it, and it didn't launch, and I didn't touch it for like 2 weeks. And then somebody I'd been talking to on Bluesky, thanks to KatenKB.bluesky.social, said you have to add ;xcb to your qt_qpa_platform environment variable in your Neri config. And I did that, and I restarted and it didn't work. And then I restarted the computer, and it worked. So,
Wait, so it was a Neri thing?
So it wasn't working for me because Neri handles different windowing systems or different like window APIs differently, window drawing APIs differently, because there's no Chrome in Neri windows, right? You don't have like the little bar at the top that has the maximize and minimize button. So yeah, you had to
I
do
actually
something.
don't think I knew that.
Yeah, no, we're living on. It's a wild new way of computing out here.
I mean, I guess because you don't need a maximize button. That makes sense, or minimize, I guess, because everything's just tiling. But
all keyboards all the time.
But no close button. How do you close it?
Command key, super Q.
Oh,
super Q kills every window.
Wow.
So anyway, all that does is basically tells it that, hey, if something asks for this type of API, then this is what you draw if Wayland doesn't work. And I did that, rebooted the machine, and all of a sudden DaVinci Resolve seems to be fully functional. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
I mean, so how deep have you gone into doing anything in it yet?
I opened it up and I made a new file called test, and I drug like 2 videos in there to see what happened, and they worked. And then I closed it because I had other
always
stuff to
be
do.
testing.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So more on that soon, but like I wanted to get a workflow backup for the MicroStarter videos I've been doing without because I'm not paying for Premiere anymore. So and Premiere has been a key part of that, and getting Resolve up and running one step closer toward not needing Windows anymore.
Are you using the free version, or did you pay for the upgrade to Studio?
I'm using the free version so far, but I'll buy the upgrade at some point in the not too distant future. Yeah,
it's not like really the big thing for me is the 4K, like being able to deal with 4K. Like
that and the GPU encodes are both really nice.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you're doing, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I guess
so that's it. Stuff's going pretty well. I've been using Reaper on podcast stuff. Still, Reaper, I'm getting the knack of it. It's like going to Canada. Like the language is the same, but everything's a little off. But I'm getting there. And that's pretty much it. That's what I did over the break, pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you feel refreshed? Do you feel like you're coming into 2026 with a love for Linux?
I'm going to go and tell you, now that this machine isn't crashing when I run OBS, I'm feeling a lot better. Like there were a couple of late nights where I was looking at it and I was like, what am I doing with my life? I could just buy a Mac, man.
Oh, come on.
It's like I was 2 steps away. I was at the mall. We went down to the mall. We went into the Whole Foods out at Stonestown, and I was like, the Apple Store's just the other side. I could go buy a Mac Studio and just I'd just be a BSD guy then. And,
all right, this is the last episode of the podcast.
Yeah, we've had a good run.
Perfect. Yeah, good run.
So what did you do on your break, Adam?
So I did it. I finally did it. I talked about it. I got all the building blocks in place. You
installed Manjaro.
No, I set up my gaming PC that I have in the living room, and I actually played some games.
Oh,
so
awesome.
I want to be very clear. This PC is just for gaming.
Yeah.
And my goal of doing it is like, I want to treat it like a console as much as I can. So
we know you love consoles.
Yeah. So the idea of most of the time when I'm running Windows, I actually have Steam auto start and then auto launch into big screen and try to replicate that experience. But guess what? It's not reliable. Or, like I have to go out and update something or make sure something like IQ, like the controller I use, IQ doesn't launch by default, even
Windows changes the sound input or something goofy, and then all your whole thing breaks.
So, whatever. I've been using it. It's been fine. And I do want to say I did dual boot. So I had 2 drives in there. One of them was a Windows drive. One of them was actually where I stored my games. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and repurpose that game drive as the Linux drive. Mm-hmm. And that was fine. So I wanted to go with Bazite or Baked Ziti.
People don't call it that.
Bazite.
It's not a thing people say.
Yeah. Actually, somebody in the comments of one of our last videos was like, dude, pronounce it right. I'm like, that's the joke.
What was it? Steve pronounced it even a third way that I'd never heard before when we talked to him. Did he call it Bazite?
No, Bazite.
I can't remember.
Anyway, so I picked Bazite, and the machine I have right now is running a AMD. It's all AMD based system. So the CPU is a 7800X3D, which is for people who aren't hardware savvy. It's like a gaming centric CPU that AMD produces that is awesome.
8 cores, lots of cache, real fast.
Yeah. Like it literally is designed for gaming, and it gets uplift from gaming workloads. Not that it's bad for other workloads. It's just you get a great benefit on the gaming side. And then I had reached out to Sapphire, and they had sent me over now I don't remember the model number or the actual car. Oh, it was a Pulse. So Sapphire Pulse RX 9070 XT, which is AMD's top of the line GPU right now, because I do have a 4K TV. I like playing all the bells and whistles. And for the most part, I'm actually a handheld gamer. So like 80% of my gaming is handheld.
So you have low standards is what you're saying.
No. I share a living room. We share a TV. So, me and my wife, we sit on the couch. I play on my handheld. She watches something on the TV, and it's great. It's family time. That's family time in 2025. And so it's only when I only game on the PC when either Lindsay's not using it and she's like, I'm going to read a book or just sit on my phone or something. Go ahead. Or if there's something that's so graphically intensive that I want the bells and whistles, like, oh, hey, Cyberpunk, I want to play with ray tracing. Sure, they have a great Steam Deck mode, but I want to see all the bells and whistles. Why not? I'm a bells and whistles kind of guy. But and in that system, I actually had a GeForce RTX 5070, so not the top of the line GPU, but I mean, powerful. Love it. Not that it wouldn't work well in Linux. I wanted to start with AMD because traditionally AMD just has better drivers, more support, yada yada yada. Traditionally, I don't know. And so I tossed that in there. I've actually been playing in that setup for a couple weeks just so I get a feel of the Radeon card on Windows. Yeah, before I did any of the Linux stuff. So I put Bazite on, loaded it on a thumb drive, went through the install process. Was great. Funny enough, I ran into a weird thing, and I could have swore I've used Bazite with Ventoy before, but on their website when I was going through, because it's like a choose your own adventure. Like, where are you going to be installing it? What desktop manager or
what kind of computer is it?
Yeah. So I was going through that, and actually there's a little note that says Ventoy is not supported.
What?
Have you seen that before?
No.
Yeah,
I've used Ventoy to install Bazite before.
Yeah, I thought I did too, and I was like, okay, well, just to be safe, they recommend you use the Fedora Media Writer or whatever, because Bazite is a fork of Fedora, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. So that was a weird side note. I don't know if anybody else has had issues, and I don't know why they officially say it's not supported. But and then so I installed it in the live environment, rebooted, and it went into the Steam setup, I believe is what was next. Like that whole, essentially like a Steam Deck when you launch it and be like, oh, hey, go ahead and sign in. And actually I got stuck on there. Like I was able to sign into my account, but it just like hung. And I don't know if that was a Steam like authentication issue or something else, but like I let it sit there for a while and it just did nothing. So at some point I was like, okay.
Steam or the emulated, the one that runs via Proton? Do you know?
I mean, whatever Bazite uses.
Bazite uses. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I just hard resetted it and re-signed in. Everything was fine.
Okay.
The first thing I did, which I was curious because if somebody wanted to use it the way I did, like the way you would a Steam Deck, you could just theoretically just start using it like that.
I was going to say, did it give you like the 10-foot interface login, or did it give you a desktop login? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it's always like, I think you might not see it, but like the way that I did the pull downs and the configuration of like, oh, hey, what do I want to see? And I don't remember off the top of my head, but
probably did the home theater PC, right?
Yes. Oh, actually, yes, that's what I did. Yeah. And so, it was a 10-foot interface. I could have just used it like that. There was an update in the Steam update section, but then I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to exit to desktop and do the thing that I've always heard to do is say, hey, once you have a new install, go update the like in the terminal or whatever. You know what I mean? Like a system update. And so, I went to the desktop. I was able to use my usual sudo DNF update because it's Fedora, and the way that it displays the packages and stuff like that, it's a little bit different. And I think that's because it's immutable. And but there was an update. I rebooted, and then I went back into the 10-foot interface, started downloading games, and just started playing games. And I was like, okay, well this is the goal of doing it, but I did run into some stumbling blocks.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know about running the system update on the immutable distro, because the whole point of it is that it just downloads an image every once in a while and replaces the old image with the new image, right?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a weird thing. Like, I guess I'm just stuck in that mindset of, everyone always recommends after you do a live install, you do an update. And so I was like, I guess now that I think about it, I should have not done that and just seen how it worked.
Let it roll.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious. That's the thing I need to do some reading on. I'm curious how that works because it came up when we did the Bazite testing last year, and I'm curious. Like now that I understand more about how Linux works in the background, I'm kind of curious how the immutable stuff works from a functional way.
And to be fair, I would never do that on the Steam Deck. So I don't know why on the Steam Deck I'm like, whatever. I'm just using like a Steam Deck, but here for some reason.
Well, on the Steam Deck, you hit the update button in the Steam Deck UI, and then it just does its thing, right?
I know, but you can go to the desktop and
that's true.
Let's do it from there, like the terminal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway, the first major issue, or not major, the first minor issue, I should say, I run into is that the controller that I like to use is a really. I love this controller. It's a Scuff Pro.
Wow.
I don't remember the name, but this is a controller I reviewed a couple of years ago. Scuff. It's like their high-end controller. It's like a $200 controller. It's got really good feel. The back paddles programmable. It even has like side paddles, all that kind of stuff. It does. You have to map it in the IQ software, unfortunately, but luckily you do have locally stored profiles.
Okay.
And so I was able to pop up my stored profile. That was fine. I maybe there's a way to update it if you didn't have access to Windows, but luckily in this scenario it was already configured the way I want it, so that was work. But the problem is that it was registering inputs wrong in Steam. Like I think like I don't remember the exact ones, but it was like instead of A to enter, it was B or something like that. And I was just like, okay, well, I know the controller's mapped the way I want it, which is actually pretty standard. It's more the back paddle mappings that I do. So I had to go into Steam input and like go through the controller mapping configuration, and then it worked. That was fine.
Okay.
Like so out of the box, for some reason the configuration wasn't reading right, but once I went through the controller mapping thing, it was fine.
Are the face button? So, do the face buttons map? Like, is the A button not the A button? Is that what the problem was?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
okay.
And this is Xbox kind of layout, and yeah, I guess I was a little surprised that it just didn't read it like that.
Yeah, that's weird.
And it wasn't all the buttons, like the directional pads, all that kind of stuff was working fine. It was just yeah, like
weird,
like proper navigation is why I first noticed it, because I was like, oh, well, that's weird. It shouldn't work like that.
Well.
Also, the other big thing I kind of ran into is that by default, if you hit whatever the used to be the select button, I'm just going to call it the select button. If you're a Nintendo kid, you get it.
Still the select button for me.
Yeah. So if you hit the select button, then you get the left side overlay, which is kind of like the main interface of like home, library, settings, downloads, all that kind of stuff, right?
Hitting the
controller
Steam button
mappings
on the Steam controller or the Xbox button on an Xbox controller generally pops up. It's the one with home, library, store.
Yes.
Not the one with like the hardware controls.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I want to access the hardware control stuff. How do I do that? And I literally hit every button under the sun, and I was like, okay, well.
So you long press the Steam button, and then it pops up an overlay that tells you what all the Steam shortcuts are that takes you to that button.
Oh. Okay, well, so what I had, I Googled it. I ended up Googling it, and it was hit that button quickly and then A by default.
Wow.
And I was like, so you don't hold the button and hold A at the same time. You press the overlay button, and before the left one pops out, you hit A, and the right one pops out.
That's insane.
And
I think on the Steam Deck, I don't have my Steam Deck right here, but I think on this
the Steam Deck has a dedicated button. There's the one on the left that opens up the thing, and then the one on the right that opens up to the overlay.
Sorry, when I was using Steam OS on non-Steam Deck devices last year, you could long press the Xbox button on the RG Ally and hit. I think it was the back button, like the back / select button, the left start button, and it would do it. I can't remember. There's definitely a keyboard. There's a shortcut built in, and I think that's mappable in the Steam input settings for the desktop and the 10-foot interface. But that's
I did not see it in the 10-foot interface, and I was like I don't know if that's Steam's default thing or a Bazite default thing or what, but like that Googled it, and that's what it said, and it worked.
And it worked. Okay.
And I was just like, but it's also a pain in the butt, because like if I don't hit it fast enough, or if I whatever, like it's a weird combo.
Do you not have does that controller not have like an Xbox or PlayStation button equivalent?
Well, it does, but if you press it once, it slides the home library store thing, and so I have to hit it. And before the left side starts over, I hit A, and then the
my guess is
side.
You can rebind that, but I don't know how you.
I hope so. Please, somebody help me, because it is like I was able to use it, but I was just like, this does not make any sense.
Seems like a bad UI.
I mean,
interface.
if anything, I would rather have it default to bringing the right side overlay with all the configurator stuff. Personally,
well, except it turns out you need that left side menu to do like close applications that are hung or anything weird that happens in the OS.
Well, but I'd rather do that by hitting the middle button in A, because I'm doing that way less often.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, whatever.
Games good though? Do games work pretty well?
Well, two more notes real quick.
Okay.
Actually, the wake from sleep, I could not figure out a way to do it with my controller. I don't know if that's the thing.
That's not a thing you can do.
You can't do. Okay.
No.
Yeah. I mean, luckily I was able to either I left it and it went to sleep, or I was able to hit the power button on the PC and it went to sleep. And guess what? It just resumed like that. It was.
Did you try shaking the controller, Adam?
No, I didn't. Well, I mean, not to turn it on. Maybe just when I was angry.
Okay.
So, like, I would love to see if maybe people have ways to be able to wake it from sleep with a controller on the couch.
A lot of folks I know do a wireless keyboard, like a small wireless keyboard with a trackpad on it, and you'll use that to do the wake from sleep, or you just put it to sleep, shut it down, and hit the power button to wake it up. The other thing that it's missing is the eARC controls to turn the TV and the HDMI. Like if you have a receiver or something in your chain, that stuff won't turn on automatically with a non-Steam OS Steam Deck install.
Well, the other thing that I ran into that I just didn't think of beforehand was this latest generation of AMD GPUs based off of RDNA 4 processing has specific features that you can only really enable through the software. So the Radeon Adrenalin software. So like FSR4 or I'm sorry, for FSR Redstone, some of those things are implemented in games. So you pick it natively, and some of them you can go into the software and override them and say, hey, you know what? This uses FSR 3.1 or whatever the requirement is, but because of the driver, you're able to actually boost that up to FSR 4 through that thing. And then I was like, wait, is there a software package?
So do you know how you do that in Linux? You pass command line options to Proton in your Steam command line. So I had to learn how to do this to get Arc Raiders working. And you can pass a bunch of, I don't have Steam running right now, but you can, like I pass which version of Proton and things like, does it use NVIDIA specific features through the command line in Steam. And
interesting.
You find that stuff on the ProtonDB page. So ProtonDB has a big list of all the games. Okay. And if you need specific stuff to get it to work, then you can do that. There's also other options sometimes for like things like tuning FSR and stuff like that.
Well, funny enough, I'm here at CES. I had several meetings with AMD, and I actually was able to set up an interview that the video should be live by the time this podcast is posted. I did an interview with Andre, who you had interviewed about Rockham. He is the head of all software for the gaming, and obviously
they call him Mr. Adrenalin.
Okay. And so when I reached out to AMD to interview somebody, they were like, hey, I mean, this is the guy to ask about that kind of stuff. So the video wasn't all about that. It was mostly about just FSR and the naming and where it's going and, their direction and stuff like that. But part of it actually did bring this problem up. I was like, hey, listen, I, like many people, have switched over to using Linux for gaming, and I want to use some of these features that are in the override, which, I mean, tell you the truth, I don't like the override thing. That's
it's a bad fix,
yeah. But I mean, if it's going to be there, I want to use it. And I actually did go to see if there was a version. And sure enough, there is actually a version of the software, but it's only for Ubuntu.
Oh.
And I don't even know if it has the full feature set. It might just be more for like Rockham and that kind of stuff, not for the actual gaming stuff. I don't know. I did not try to install it, but yeah. So I actually brought this up with him, and he was like, yeah, he kind of like was like, hey, listen, that would be great. We're always looking into that kind of stuff, but to tell you the truth, that's still a relatively small part of the market. And if somebody wants to do that, we'll help them support it. And I was like, what are you saying? So if somebody in the community wants to do an open source version of that kind of thing, would you support it? And he was like, yeah, like reach out to us. We would love to talk to somebody about that kind of stuff. So I was like, that's interesting. I mean, it's not going to be me, but I wanted to make sure that they were thinking about the Linux users for this going forward for sure, because it is good technology, and I want access to it. And if you can only get it through the override, then
I was going to say Lutris also does this for you automatically in some cases.
Really?
If you use Lutris to launch non-Steam games and add non-Steam games back into Steam.
Oh, interesting.
Like you can say wine _fullscreen_FSR _strength, and then a number. I don't know that it gives you the
that's not the FSR
version.
Yeah, because that's the weird thing about FSR upscaling is that for RDNA 4 based GPUs, you get access to the new kind of upscaling that's better, higher quality. You can either code it natively, or you can backport it from FSR 3 generation from a specific point number. I don't remember off the top of my head. So like you are literally kind of like running the game in FSR 3 mode, but because of the driver, it actually boosts it to the new generation. Sorry, it's gross oversimplification. I'm tired, but
yeah. It looks like there's no way. I'm looking at the Proton docs right now, and I don't see a good way to manage which version of FSR you're accessing. So that's a thing that would be nice to add in.
So, well, hey, hopefully, through the course of that conversation, maybe something comes of it. Like I said, I am in a special position where I'm able to talk to people at these companies that they make those decisions and make sure they know that this is something that, a lot of people are into. Because, hey, guess what? 2026 is the year of Linux, baby.
Yeah, that's what we've always said here at Dual Boot Diaries. 2026, year of Linux. Let's go.
All right. Now let's get to games, because I played some games.
Okay.
And some of them were more lightweight. Some of them were more involved. Some of them I've actually played before, and some of them I was playing new for the first time. So Arc Raiders, I mean, like, I didn't have any issues with it. Like, I had set it like the way that I was running in Windows, and I didn't do any official benchmarking, but it felt pretty much
feels good.
Similar in performance. It felt good. Yeah. I did notice though, there was no frame gen option in there. And there was in the Windows version, and I don't know if that's because of the whole driver override thing or something. But
there's probably no FSR frame gen, is there, or is it just DLSS?
No? There is FSR frame gen in the Windows version. Yeah,
that's weird. I wouldn't use frame gen in a multiplayer game anyway, so it's like that's no loss to me. The thing I fixed the crashing on when you're alt tabbed during a level load, by the way, on Linux.
Oh yeah, you talked about that.
We talked about that last time. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. And then so I loaded up Silent Hill 2 Remake because I actually been wanting to replay that, and I did talk about this before, but when I tried to play it in the Windows version, I could not get that thing to run in an acceptable way. There was some sort of bug or
on
something.
That machine?
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't take a ton of time troubleshooting it. Actually, Ed from Sapphire did reach out to me, and he's like, "Hey, I actually had an issue with it with another game, and it got updated, or it got fixed when there was a new driver update. So maybe it was just a driver thing. I don't know. I haven't gone back to try it out. But hey, in Bazite, worked great.
No problem.
No problem. It worked exactly how I expected it to work. The only weird thing is that, and I need to go back to the Windows version to know if this is a thing, but I don't, it feels weird, is that I was using DLSS for the upscaling because I was on an NVIDIA card, but in this one there was only FSR 1. And I was like, okay, I ain't using FSR 1, dude. So I don't know if FSR 1 is the only option in the Windows version as well, but I was just like, dog, that is a hard no for me.
I would fire that up and test, but that game is too scary even in the menus for me. So I'm sorry, I'm not getting near that.
Yeah, but no, I'm glad it worked. It ran. It was great. Mega Bonk, pretty lightweight game.
That game's pretty light.
Yeah, pretty fun. Little Kitty Big City actually had an update that I hadn't played. They added a little new areas, new hats, things like that, and I was like, oh, I would love to go around and futz around.
I like the little cucumber hat.
Oh man, I love that game.
Game's very good.
Love that game. The past number of months, I've actually been doing my semi-yearly replay of all the Metal Gear games, and so I finally got to 5, and because I was playing in release order.
Did you start at the NES or did you start at the PlayStation 1?
No, Solid. Sorry.
Okay.
Solid series. Metal Gear
You said
Solid
Metal Gear.
series.
I just assumed you're playing the good ones.
And that run great. I mean, it's an older game, so whatever. I didn't expect it to not run great, but I didn't run into any problems. And then I actually started up Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 because I have heard some cool stuff about it.
Yeah.
It ran great.
Okay.
I literally didn't look up anything in ProtonDB. Maybe there's better ways to run them, but I also just didn't run into any problems with the games that I was trying to play. And it wasn't like I was sitting down and actively testing, like, I want to see how this runs. Or I was just playing games. This was all just me trying to game like I normally would. And I tell you what, like, being able to literally just turn on the computer and have it wake from sleep and just play a game just like I do on the handhelds, I was just like, wow. Like, it's not perfect yet. There's obviously some of those things I need to figure out, but like, I was just like, we're here. This is it. essentially this is the dream of the Steam machine, right? And I was just like, man, this is my jam. I dug it.
So there's a hole for you that's a good hole that's in your future, I can see, which is that you can save state on Linux on your desktop just like you do on your Steam Deck when you put the Steam Deck to sleep, and it'll save the state of the game you're in so that you can resume precisely from where you were rather than having to do,
Wait, you mean like if I wanted to play a game, save that state, go play a different game, and then come back and relaunch the
that? I don't
state?
know about. I assume you can probably do that too. But it definitely, if you're like, oh crap, I gotta run. I can't get to a save spot or whatever here. Just like you hit the power button on your Steam Deck, you can sleep that machine and it'll save the state and the whole thing and come back up just like you'd left off.
It's not even like comprehensible to me. Like on Windows, like I always just turn the system off. Like I'm always just turning the system off. That's crazy. That it felt good, man. I'm really glad I started to do it because
feels good, right?
I was worried because I also didn't want, if I was going to run into issues, I didn't want to have it ruin my vacation playtime because believe me, I needed a vacation and I vacationed hard. It was aggressive relaxation, is how Alex likes to call it. And I did it for sure. And even though I did run into these little things, it wasn't like it didn't stop me. It didn't make me be like, I'm going to go back to Windows and just play some games over there. Like these were like, okay, I'll futz with it for a little bit and maybe Google something. And that's pretty much all it was.
It's pretty accessible. I was going to say, I played a fair amount of Outer Wilds 2 on Linux, both on the handheld and on the PC. I don't think we talked about this last time, but I set up Apollo and Moonlight and streamed into the Xbox Series S that's in my living room.
Oh, yeah, you didn't talk about that.
And I got to tell you, I've streamed to the Steam Deck a lot, which is great, pretty good experience. It's better handheld than plugged into the TV with the dock, right? Like plugged into the TV with the dock, the Steam Deck's a little bit weird sometimes. Just in that it has trouble changing resolutions and it's not exactly what that machine is built for. Actually,
sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
That is one of the things I did run into, is that by default, all the games that I would launch, I couldn't access the resolution higher than 1080p.
Yeah, 1280 by 800 is usually what they stick to, right?
No, but this was 1080p.
1080p even?
Yeah. And so I was like, that's weird. And I was like, oh no, I probably need to go set it. It was set to automatically or something in the Steam settings, and I manually picked 4K because that's the TV, and then
it worked itself out.
And then it worked fine.
We had that problem when we tested Hollow ISO and Bazite last year.
I remember that.
Even.
Yeah.
But the Moonlight. So I people on the TechPod Discord recommended Apollo, which is a fork of Moonlight that does some stuff specifically on Windows hosts. So if you run the Sunshine host on Windows, Apollo is a fork of Sunshine, rather, not Moonlight. And it does things like sets up a virtual display and turns off all your other displays when you're streaming a game to another room, stuff like that. That worked great on Windows. I had a hard time getting it working right on Linux for a whole multitude of reasons we don't need to get into. But running Sunshine on the Linux host and streaming to the living room worked fabulously. And the Xbox, that Series S, is a really good piece of hardware for that kind of streaming, because you could do up to 4K, even though the Series S by default only runs 1080p for games. It will stream video at 4K no problem. And the latency was nice on the controllers. The Xbox controller worked really well in the games. It's a super good solution. And I was able to get some config files from some folks in the TechPod Discord again. Shout out to the Vowel, that showed me how, or sorry, not the Vowel. It was, oh God, I don't remember who it was. It was, he's a pilot is what I remember. But it let me configure the monitors automatically when the streaming service connects, so that it basically disconnects the monitors that I'm using and it hooks up to a different fake interface when I'm streaming. So yeah, Hobbs is who it is. Shout out to Hobbs. And then that's pretty much it. Is that our futzing over the holidays section? You have any more futzing?
Pretty much. I mean, I did start before we got to the holiday. I did start to do the fresh install of Pop! OS with the Cosmic update on the System 76 laptop. I installed it, and then I didn't really go further than that. So I do want to get back to that when we get back. But yeah, so nope. That was futzing.
We're into the $1 million question, Adam.
$1 million question.
I guess, but we'll stall for a minute longer.
Okay.
Because I was able to run Linux during my CES content, right?
Oh yeah.
I hosted the Intel, the long season in hell that was the AMD keynote, and then a quick talk over of NVIDIA's 30-minute keynote for consumer stuff, the GeForce On, I think is what they call it. And I, aside from some initial audio problems that are fairly typical when you're setting up a stream with Intel, everything worked really great. We did have one weird bug.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, walk me through the setup. Like you have the stream up on your desktop. You're also connecting with our coworker Elena Yee. She joined you over. I don't know what you guys maybe use Discord or something.
We use Zoom.
Zoom. Yeah. Okay. And then you're still going out to your streaming machine, but this wasn't your
I don't use the streaming machine for this. Yeah.
Oh, you don't. Oh,
no.
Okay.
So this is just all the streams running on the main PC for this because
okay. So your normal cache desktop.
Yeah.
Okay.
So running OBS, just like always, Elena connected via Zoom, and I just captured that Zoom window just as an OBS screen capture. The neat thing about capturing in Linux, for people who don't know this, is that Wayland just sends the video output to OBS as well as wherever it's going on the desktop, and it's really low latency and it works really well and it's nice and clean, generally speaking. Now, and then the stream, the Intel or AMD or NVIDIA stream is a full screen video on my main monitor, my main 4K monitor down low, and that is captured and underlaid underneath the heads and all that stuff. So I had some problems usually I use NVIDIA Broadcast to kind of clip out both of those sources on this machine. This is why I use the main machine for this instead of the stream machine, because the stream machine is an older GPU and doesn't have quite as much kind of hoist as the 5090 in the desktop. And there's no NVIDIA Broadcast plugin for Linux. There's somebody that's made something that's kind of similar that uses GPUs to separate it out. And it was pretty fiddly and didn't like doing two sources at a time. So like on the NVIDIA, on the Windows side, I've been able to hook up 3 people to the OBS, clip out their backgrounds, and then I can place them anywhere I want on the OBS scene.
Like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. On this, it wasn't having it. So it would do one, and then when you flip the other one on, the first one would turn off, or vice versa, and it just wasn't a great experience. So I gave up on that pretty quickly. I just put the windows up and we had our boxes along the bottom of the screen. But what was happening was Elena's video was often dropping to like 5 frames a second, and I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. So like her video coming into Zoom looked great, and I'd go over and tile over to the Zoom window, and I'd look at it and be like, Elena's video looks fantastic. And then I'd tile back over, I'd scroll back over to the OBS window, and it would be like 5 frames a second. And I'd scroll back over to Zoom, and it would be fine. And I tried different capture methods. I tried capturing the whole window and all this different stuff. And about 5 minutes before the NVIDIA keynote, I figured it out. Maybe it was midway through the AMD keynote. I had some time to think during that AMD keynote because they mentioned AI 207 times during
robotics and healthcare and all these other things that are not consumer related. But,
long season in hell.
A whole separate discussion, which we will talk about on the Full Nerd episode live
next week. We're going to do a minute by minute recap. Elena and I are going to just share our thoughts from the whole way through. But the thing that was happening is smart for an OS and stupid for the application I was using for the OS. As soon as Neri moves a window out of your visible viewport, so when you're Neri infinite scrolling side to side, it's like, hey, I'm going to save some power on this window, and I'm going to turn the frame rate down on it. And so I would scroll over to OBS, and it would be like, oh, that Zoom window, 5 frames a second for you, you're out of sight, out of mind. We can't see you anymore. And then I'd scroll back, and it would be like, oh, I can see the Zoom window again. Got to run at full speed. And then I'd zoom back, and it would be 5 frames a second. And then I'd zoom back, and it'd be full speed. And I was like, what is going on here? This is making me crazy. So anyway, I got to submit a Neri bug for that, because it should be when you're capturing a window using OBS, that should tell Wayland Neri should tell Wayland, hey, run this full speed.
I mean, on laptops,
Yeah,
I can understand that. Like, but on desktop, you've got the power. Like, yeah, why would you automatically try to?
But also, like, it's fine. It's fine that it does that. I'm totally fine that it does that.
Okay.
But the OS is smart enough to know that window is being captured.
Oh,
so it should know to render that at full speed.
Huh. Okay.
Anyway.
I'm laughing a little bit here for audio listeners to notice because I'm starting to see a theme, Will. That there's a lot of things that pop up. You're like, man, there's this issue, and I just cannot figure out what's going on. Is it my hardware? Is it the OS? Oh wait, it's Neri.
No. Look, we're not gonna. We're living on the cutting edge here, Adam. We're exploring new paradigms in human computer interface, and there's going to be some speed bumps along the way. That's just the way it goes.
You're a Neri influencer. You're submitting bugs.
Yeah.
What are you going to start? Coding.
You can't get near to perfection without a little Neri in your life. That's
I don't know if the Neri people are watching. That would be hilarious. But maybe Will's helping to contribute to the cause just by
I'm one
bringing
step
up all
nearer
these
to
issues.
God is all I'm saying is where we're at right now. So that was maybe the best part of the AMD keynote was when I figured that out midway through, and I was like, oh my God. And then all I did was
that was midway through. You were already streaming?
Oh, there's video of it. I realized what was happening. My face lights up and I'm like, look, if I move your zoom window right next to OBS so that like the tiniest sliver of it's still visible, full speed. It's like
you gotta send me that the timestamp.
I'm not watching that. No, there's not enough money in the world for me to watch that video again.
Okay.
Fresh season in hell.
Oh, that's hilarious. If people do want to go back and watch it, it's over on PCWorld's YouTube channel. Streamed all live over there.
Look, I wrote to get the counter working. This is a Dual Boot Diaries material too, I guess. I had a counter that was hooked up to my Stream Deck pedal. Every time I stomped the pedal, the counter increments 1. I wrote a little script.
Well, the counter for how many times people say AI.
For how many times people say AI. And let's see, it's in...
and you did the drinking game as well, right?
No, we would have had to have our stomach pumped about 4 minutes in on the AMD keynote. Look, Intel came out with, I think, 47 mentions of AI in their 45-minute-ish keynote. 1 a minute, pretty reasonable. 207 in a 2-hour keynote was a bit much.
And I guess it's a little unfair to compare the NVIDIA one because there was actually 2 of them. One was Jensen talking for a couple hours about all AI, and then they made a separate one for gamers where that was a pre-recorded thing that they just streamed live, right?
The one for gamers, they knew their audience, and I think they mentioned it like 6 times or 7 times.
Oh, okay.
But by the end of that AMD one, I couldn't count anymore, so it's hard to say.
But I bet, I don't know if I maybe somebody did count this other than us. I would put money that NVIDIA probably said it the most.
I'm not going back and watching the NVIDIA keynote to find out. But that little script I wrote, it took a text file, incremented it by 1 every time I stomped the pedal, and like my Bitfocus companion just called ran bash, and then the script path to the script, and it incremented the file by 1. OBS saw the file change and updated the number on the screen. It was fantastic.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Vibe coding, man.
I went to Stack. I coded the old-fashioned way. I went to Stack Overflow.
Farm to table coding.
And I found somebody who'd had a similar problem that I just copied and pasted what they did, and I changed the file names.
Perfect. Done it. Yeah.
Hashtag
You're
software.
your own AI. AI. Nice. All right. Well, drum roll? Are you ready for the $1 million question? Why don't you ask it?
Hey, Adam, how is your Linux laptop doing during CES?
Well, no, that's not the question.
Hey, Adam, are you still using Linux, or have you gone back to Windows like some sort of coward baby man?
Linux, baby.
Nice!
I've been able to make it work this whole time in Linux. I have run into some issues, though.
Are you using the virtual machine in Photoshop? Is that your Photoshop solution?
Yeah. So for the most part, that has been easy. I actually have 3 separate desktops. Like one of them's where I kind of do work stuff. The next one is where I have like chats going with our company Slack and things like that. Then the third one is dedicated to the virtual machine. And I even have like a side monitor, which actually I've never used multiple monitors yet on Linux. And like, in the way I have it configured, pretty much, standard GNOME Fedora, it was great. It was actually nice to have the second monitor I could switch desktops on the main monitor, and the second monitor just always stayed there.
Yeah.
So actually, you know what? I ended up moving
those
the
desktops
chat over
scrolled
on that
infinitely now,
one.
Adam.
Okay, well,
That's the next step.
No, I'm out. And so, yeah, so my workflow, usually what happened is that I have to gather the materials, either the photos that I'm taking for thumbnails or, you know, still images. Like for the streams, I ended up taking key art from each of the companies and then, you know, saving this all to a file on my working drive. Mm-hmm. So I did most of the gathering of all the assets on the Linux side. Mm-hmm. And then when I was ready and was like, okay, I have everything, I would go over to the virtual machine, mount the USB key, and it just, I could hear the unmount in Fedora and then the mounting ding in Windows. So it was actually kind of fun to hear it go back and forth like that.
We need to set you up a shared folder between those two so that you don't have to do a thumb drive to move those files back and forth.
Oh, I could just use OneDrive. Just kidding. No, it's not the answer. And so yeah, it worked. And then I went into Photoshop. I did everything that I needed to do, exported it out, saved it, and then ejected it from Windows. And it automatically, actually, when you eject it in Windows, it automatically mounts back in Fedora. I think was it, or no? Did I? Now I actually can't remember.
Mount it.
Yeah, I might have had to go back into the virtual machine manager and dismount it there. No, but for some reason I thought it just automatically mounted, and really it was no, that doesn't make sense. Okay, no, I think I had to dismount.
Probably
it.
when you clicked on it in the left side of your file of Dolphin or whatever.
Oh no, actually, you know what I'm thinking of is that I was making these thumbnails mostly in batches where for most of CES I'm just running around and doing stuff, you know, making videos, and then I would come back in the evening and stay up late making a bunch of thumbnails and finishing up the videos that we did. So for the most part, I was actually able to batch this process. I would get all the materials that I would need for 3 thumbnails that I need to make, go into Windows, make those 3 thumbnails, come back out. And so actually now I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about is that once I knew I'd made the batch that I needed and then everything was good, I actually just shut down Windows. So when you shut down Windows and the virtual machine turns off, then that's when it would dismount.
Freeze it back up.
Yeah. So, and then actually once I started the virtual machine and I already had it mounted, it would just automatically, once Windows started, the drive would mount in there. So it was kind of a mixture of automatic and manual. And yeah, it worked. I did run into one weird little thing where like I logged into Windows and then the whole virtual machine just kind of hung. And I don't know exactly what happened. Whatever. I had to force shut it down in the virtual machine manager, and it restarted. It was fine.
What about your firewall sitch? We talked about that a little bit last.
Oh God.
Time.
Okay. So
did you connect to Meredith's MacBook Pro and make sound come out of it this time?
I'll tell you what. This thing has been like just so annoying that like So I did come across it. I logged into my hotel, got into the Wi-Fi, and all of a sudden Discord just started showing it up again. And I was like, what the hell? I thought I had made sure the firewall was running. I was like, okay. I do have a little bit of time before the show starts, but I was like, if I can't figure this out before the show starts, I'm done. So I got into our Full Nerd Discord. There's a link if you want to join. There's a link in the description. And I was like, guys, I really need help. Somebody needs to help me here. And luckily there was a couple people that were on, because it was actually late Saturday is when I got there. And yeah, they were like, hey, you know, have you tried the Pipewire stuff? And I was like, no, I had initially done the firewall stuff and made sure that it was working. And then as I was chatting, somebody, and I'm sorry, I don't remember names, but I really appreciate all of you who helped me. Somebody was like, hey, did you know there's actually a GUI version of the firewall? And I was like, no, there's not. And they were like, yeah, well, hit the super key and type firewall, you know, and it should have like a red brick, like the icon's like a red brick wall kind of thing. And I was like, no, it's not there. So it's not. So the firewall is there. It's just that the GUI version is not. And they were like, oh, well, you know, go download I can't remember if I downloaded it from the terminal or from the software store or whatever, but I downloaded it and it was a simple GUI based version. It actually looks like the interface reminds me of like Active Directory on Windows, like that kind of weird column setup thing. And they were like, hey, by default it actually, if I remember correctly, it automatically defaults to Fedora Workstation as a profile, which has certain flags for what's allowed and what's not. And they were like, hey, you need to change it over to public, which has some of these flags like unchecked. And I was like, okay. So I did. And all of a sudden I stopped getting it.
Oh, you stopped seeing Meredith's MacBook.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, but the thing is, I couldn't tell because usually when this happens, there's a little thing in Discord where it says, hey, don't show again. Mm-hmm. And I'd been hitting it a bunch, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I finally cycled through all of them. So I couldn't tell if there was a firewall or not. Either way, they weren't popping up for the rest of the night. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, everyone. I really appreciate it. And the next morning I woke up, I turned on the machine, and the pop-ups were back. And I was like, guys, what the heck is going on?
Did you not
here?
save the rules?
No, I did actually. Yeah, if you click on it, it just automatically applies. There's no weirdly in that GUI. There's no, once you click on the predefined things, there's no like save or enable. It just, you click it and it starts. But what happened is that you actually have to. So I started seeing the pop-ups again, and I was like, okay, I'm this close to starting CES. Like, I mean, we had literally started CES, and I was like, I'm this close to just going over to Windows. And somebody was like, oh, no, you actually have to change the configuration to load that specific one on default. I don't remember the nomenclature. I'm sorry. I'm tired. But there was some way to...
The firewall had to be set to that public set of rules rather than your workstation
and there was
rules.
one little check mark that people were telling me to make sure that it was checked. And once again, I'm sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head what the actual thing was, but essentially it was... I don't remember. It wasn't Pipewire, so it wasn't an audio thing. It was more like
it's a networking
being
thing,
discoverable or something by other devices.
Yeah,
I don't remember. So
but it's working
in my frustration. Well, in my frustration, when I came back to it, I did go and do the Pipewire thing, which was just a simple terminal command. Somebody had linked a Reddit post where somebody had offered it. It was a quick little terminal command to essentially disable Pipewire, not the whole thing, but like a specific part of it. So to tell you the truth, one of those things did it, and I'm not exactly sure. I think it was the firewall, but either way, once it was done, I was like, thank goodness, because I tell you what, I was literally right on the edge and ready to do it. But no, because that was like, man, ooh. I don't know why this one irks me so bad, but like Discord having this should be a setting in Discord, right?
No, this should be a setting it should ship with a firewall that's functional out of the box, because they can't trust that you're going to know how to turn on a firewall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but anyway. Yeah. Anyway. So I've been using it. I'm literally recording the podcast on it right now. It has been great. I actually, funny enough, I ended up bringing my trackball because I love that new one so much that I actually did bring my trackball. And even though I couldn't configure it, I stuck with the defaults and worked with it. Also, funny enough, another side note, at one of the events, Kensington had a booth there. And I went up and introduced myself. And one of the people manning the booth was actually the PR representative who I worked with to get the sample for the review. So, and then the other lady, I'm sorry, I don't remember names or their titles or anything like that, but essentially they're like, oh yeah, you're the guy who did the video. And I was like, I don't get that much. So I was like, yeah, I'm that guy.
Yeah, I'm the trackball king of San Francisco.
Yeah, there's dozens of us. They did thank me for the thorough review. They're like, hey, you know what? Not many people do thorough reviews of trackballs, so we appreciate
not many trackballs, it turns out.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I actually didn't think that video would get anywhere near the amount of attention it did. But I was able to sit there and walk through each of my pain points, like the profiles and the Linux stuff, all that kind of stuff that I talked about in the video. And they were all very receptive, very nice, being like, hey, listen, we've heard the feedback, we're working on it. I brought up the GUI, like, hey, could you do it through a web browser based system? They were kind of like, hey, listen, like a lot of these are enterprise users that need specific things, and so like couldn't have access to browser based functions. So I don't know, but they were like, yeah, we're trying to keep those people in mind, but we understand a lot of people don't want to do that. And yeah, but for the most part, it was actually cool to have that nice feedback loop. And it wasn't just them. Throughout all my meetings here, this is the first major trade show that I've attended that I've been using Linux like this, that I have been talking to vendors. I'm like, oh man, and now I can't remember the company, but I had, it was a GPU vendor. Oh, okay, yeah. So MSI announced their new RTX 5090 Lightning, like crazy, like probably going to be $4,000 high-end GPU that they're only making $1,300.
Radiator
water
hung
cooled,
off the side,
copper. It actually has a big screen on it, super fancy. Anyway, one of the announcements was, oh hey, by the way, you can configure everything through a web-based browser, and I was like,
oh really?
Oh wow, that is awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then what was the other thing? There was something else that, the NVIDIA stuff. We actually got briefed. We had the press materials before the announcement, and I was going through and I was like, okay, it's interesting. And then they had a slide saying, hey, there's going to be a native Linux app of GeForce Now. And I was like, oh, yay.
Well, so they've had one for a minute, right? Because they had the thing that they released for the Steam Deck last year.
Well, so that one, but I like for some reason I think that but I think it had a flag for being able to detect if you were on a Steam Deck or something. Like I remember I tried it on one of my other devices and it didn't work.
So I've run it on my desktop and it has problems with the resolutions you see on a desktop. Like it expects you to be running at like 1280 by 800 is the kind of TLDR.
Yeah. I saw the little penguin. They had a tux on it, like on the slide, and I was just like, "Yay, Linux!" So it has been a common thing that I've been able to go around to the vendors and be like, "Okay, well, what's your Linux support? Are you thinking about this kind of stuff? Or are you trying to transfer to web-based UI at least, things like that?" And yeah, I mean, I haven't come across a vendor that's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to aggressively attack this market because this is going to be awesome." It's just more. It seems to be like people are like, oh yeah, no, we're excited for everybody to use our stuff. We're literally trying to figure out ways to make it easier for people to get in our ecosystem, yada yada. So like it's been kind of fun. Did
they say when that GeForce Now for Steam Deck is going to be out?
I'm sorry, native for Linux. I'm sorry, I don't remember. I actually did go to the NVIDIA booth. I had I was attending the Jensen Q&A. I did see the rep for GeForce Now, and he's like, "Hey, come back and stop by. We actually have it running." They had it running in their booth, but I haven't had the time, so unfortunately, I don't know all the details.
That's all good.
I'll ping him. I'll ping him after the show because like I don't know if it's out or maybe it's in they're gonna let people have early access or something like that. But I'll try to get early access to try it out.
Yeah, I would love to like it. That is a viable option for playing games that don't work on Linux with Linux DRM. So like that's a viable Fortnite option if it works well. Which I'm excited about.
Yeah. So cool stuff. I mean, as we're recording this, it's actually Wednesday. I'm midday Wednesday. I have more meetings that we got to run to, and I have 2 more days before I get out of here. So. I will say, obviously there's a chance that maybe this whole Linux thing will fall down on its face. But I told Will before we started, I was like, you know what, let's skip the one on the January 2nd because I need some more vacation time before work. And then I was like, I'm gonna make sure that we sit down and have some time to record a Dual Boot Diary so I can check in. Because the other thing, I knew we had the stuff from the break too, so this is kind of a little bit of a longer episode, but. So there's every chance for it to go sideways the last couple of days, but I really don't think it will. Like I'm kind of after today, like I'm kind of over the hump and I feel like I'm in a groove and this feels good. I will say like, I mean, obviously it's not as easy. I still have to do the VM thing and whatever. And to tell you the truth, like the performance in the Windows VM, it's good. It's usable. It's still like I'm sorry, I'm being nitpicky about this stuff, but when I'm doing like fine things in Photoshop, like sensitivity, like I feel it kind of thing. So it's almost like gamers, right? But like you're gonna feel if there's sensitivity stuff. Like here, I feel it and it's workable. I'm able to use it, but I'm definitely like, okay, how do I actually make this experience even better? Or I mean, I really would. People still keep messaging me about other Photoshop alternatives, things like that. I get it, you know. I mean, I would like to just go native Linux, but yeah, so it's not perfect. I don't want to just do this for the rest of my life and, you know, have to go into Photoshop, but you know, well, it's working.
So I made a t-shirt the other night after I read that Satya Nadella post about how it was mean to call AI slop. And
that's who said it. Okay, yeah. I heard about the quote. I didn't know it was him.
Oh yeah, no, he did a blog post the week after Christmas that was like, hey, when you guys call AI slop, it hurts really hurting the entire ecosystem. Yeah. And then I was like, you know, Microsoft and Microsoft, same number of letters. So I made a t-shirt for myself that I then posted a picture of, and people were like, hey, can I buy that? But I did it with Inkscape and GIMP. So I opened up, took.
Wait, what's Inkscape? I know
Inkscape
GIMP,
is a vector editing tool for. It's like the Illustrator equivalent,
it's like Illustrator.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used Inkscape a lot over the years because it's really good for people who use laser cutters or like a Cricut type vinyl cutter, like if you're cutting vectors.
Cool.
But yeah, so I was able to take that and manipulate the fonts, and you know, the Microsoft logo is just Sego UI, I think is the font name. They've modified slightly, and I was able to do all that in GIMP. GIMP is a pain in the butt. I really profoundly dislike that. It's coming from Photoshop and Affinity. It's not great, but Inkscape remains best in class. I think Inkscape is fabulous for
like a pain in the butt in what way? Like the user interface, the available options, what?
Like their layering metaphor is different. It works differently in my experience. So like they, like if you want to do, like I couldn't get it to, I got to think back because it was late at night. I think that it's not, that I wasn't able to get the traces to work right for like I wanted to do edge detect on a bitmap, and I was having trouble getting them to do that right and get get clean traces on clean lines without making a bazillion nodes on the vectors. It's something that Photoshop would have had a really easy time with, or Illustrator would have had a really easy time with, and it was just fiddly and kind of a pain in the butt. Now, did it stop me? No, but it took an extra 30 minutes than it would have if I was using something I was probably more familiar with. And just to be clear, I'm 100% sure that there's ways to do the thing that I wanted to do easily and quickly, and I just didn't know how to do them. But me not knowing how to do them is the problem in this case, right? Anyway, so yeah, Microslop. Don't call it slop, guys.
Yeah. Poor AI. Poor AI.
Yeah. Why does nobody think of the billions of dollars of data center machines?
Yeah, well, hopefully, I mean, once again, we're recording this midweek. Like I mean, we rarely go on the show floor. We're just always in either meeting rooms or hotel suites with appointments. And I do want to actually go on the show floor. I think I have a little bit of time set aside today, and then tomorrow I have more time to go to the show floor. So I'm hoping to maybe stumble across something that's Linux related or Linux adjacent or open source or something like that. So who knows? I don't know what's here. I mean, there's so much here that you have to dig through a bunch of stuff. You had sent me something to check out.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was now. There's a couple of things one was
so it was like the founder of Pebble or something?
Oh, yeah. The Pebble founder is doing an open. So they convinced Google to open source the Pebble OS for for folks who don't remember, Pebble was one of the early Kickstarter projects. It was an e-ink watch that basically really.
I always wanted one.
Yeah, they were dope. It was really low power draw because the screen was easy, and so you had a battery that would last like 6-7 days. And in a normal looking digital watch that would pop notifications and stuff like that from your phone. They convinced Google bought them years ago. The founder left Google eventually and convinced Google to open source the Pebble OS on the way out. And they've started up a new company called Core Devices, I think, and they're showing stuff at CES for the first time, which is
watch related.
It's watch related? Like wearable related. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
They're doing more like the first Pebble was pre Apple Watch, pre Android Watch, all that stuff, and didn't have things like heartbeat sensors and blood ox and all that. I'm interested. I'm just really curious about that open source voyage for that company. I think it's a really interesting story. The other one that I saw that was cool, that if you get a chance to track down, is the Hyper. I think it's the Hyper. Hold on, I can't find my window here. It's the Hyperspace Trackpad Pro, which is a force feedback trackpad.
Like for desktops, like a
for desktops, yeah.
Unit. Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So if you want some sassy,
please send that to me. I'm not going to remember that name.
Yeah. I'll send you the link right now.
Actually, even the other one, if you could remind me, reset that one. Yeah. And you know what? I'm sorry. There was one other thing. I ran across the team at Pluggable, who make the docks. They're actually highly rated. My coworker Mark Hockman actually manages the dock coverage over on PCWorld. It's surprisingly a lot of people want to know about docks, so he does really good testing over there. And Pluggable usually, I don't want to speak for him, but go look at the roundup. Just search PCWorld Thunderbolt dock or something like that. But Pluggable is usually one of the top considerations. They make good stuff. I like them, and I did talk to them about Linux support, and they're one of the things they told me, and they were like, hey, listen, we don't quality, I asked them if they actually do any testing or any checking, and they're like, man, that is a huge,
it's a hole.
It's a huge thing to bite off, and you got all these distros and the routing is just so different sometimes. And he's like, sorry, for the most part, we try to make sure things are running fine, but yeah, it's one of those things that it sounds like they would love to do, but they just don't get around to it. Yeah, I get it. And I guess the founder who was there, I didn't get a chance to chat with him. The founder is a daily Linux user. I guess he's submitted code to the kernel and stuff like that. So he's like, believe me, we love Linux. It just, having any sort of validation. And I was like, oh yeah, what you don't want to put on the box works in Linux? And he's like, yeah, you don't want to do that.
I mean, honestly, it's we're 4 months into this now, 5 months into this almost. I think I would rather have, I like the framework approach to this, which is, hey, we support these OSs directly, right? But we're also going to post our code in a way that's easy to port into other distros if you want. And that to me is better than, say, no knock against Lenovo, who does good stuff in open source, but I would much rather have that than a special version of the kernel that Ubuntu ships for Lenovo and Dell devices that is going to be challenging for somebody like me to port over to a cache or the distro that I want to use. So yeah, I think anytime somebody's building something to the spec, if they're building their hardware to the appropriate specifications, then it should just work. And then it's a matter of figuring out how to configure it. And that's much easier than, hey, we built a weird kernel. We built a weird module. It's going to need kernel level support. And otherwise your stuff's not going to work right. Like I had with that Dell XPS camera. Right. So yeah, I don't know.
Speaking of framework.
Yeah.
We'll say that the Pluggable rep said they actually work directly with framework, and they either supply or maybe framework buys a bunch. I'm actually not quite sure the relationship there, but he's like, oh yeah, they use our devices. So
cool.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna assume if framework is relying on those devices, there's got to be some sort of good compatibility, and it all got brought up because I've been wanting to switch to that framework desktop. But the thing that worries me is the I/O is just I'm really scared about the limited I/O options that are on that main board. And I was like, okay, well maybe I get a dock, and he was like, hey, we would love to send you one to do some testing. So I'll hopefully follow up with him on that, and maybe that'll help my framework desktop dream come true on the desktop. And maybe that's how I finally so I've got the laptop. I feel like I'm in a dang good place there. The gaming, the PC under the TV, I'm feeling real good about it. And then now really the last big thing is gonna be okay, can I get my work desktop to do anything like this? And yeah, the framework is definitely in consideration, especially if I can get the dock situation going. And yeah, so I'm gonna hopefully pop around the show floor, try to poke in, see if there's anything that will be interesting to maybe talk about Android, or not Android, Linux related, and I'll report back.
Cool. I'm excited to see more. It seems like kind of a quiet CES this year, so.
I mean, overall, yeah, it's a quiet CES. People are actually, there's a lot more talk of like, hey, you know what? People already have good stuff, and we're looking for ways to extend longevity. Yeah, so like it seems like maybe this is why it's also a good confluence of events for being the year of Linux. So okay. I'm excited about that. So, but yeah, I need to run homework. Yep. I mean, I guess I don't have any homework other than just survive CES and
keep Linuxing.
Back. Yeah. Do you have any homework that you've been wanting to work on the next week?
Well, so I'm going to work on that stream machine. The monitor went to sleep over here, but it's still going 3.6 hours in. So I'm guessing that it's some weird setting in the profile that came over from Windows that was crashing, causing OBS to crash. And what I'll probably do,
Windows
I've learned a lot about
again.
JSON editing the last week. So probably what I'll do is open up those JSON files and see what open up meld, get my meld on and see what the diffs are between the current one that's working and the one that was crashing, and report back. So,
okay. Nice.
Who doesn't like to get their meld on,
Yeah. Well, check back next week for your fix of Linux talk here on Dual Boot Diaries. If you want to listen to us, we should be anywhere the RSS feeds are. If they're not, just let us know. We'll try to get on there. Everything seems to be posting fine. If you want to watch our faces while we talk, if you're into that, we actually have a video version over on YouTube.
Adam, the skin just looks so young in that light.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's like looking at the sun over there.
It's over at the Full Nerd YouTube channel. Subscribe over there. We also have an awesome other podcast called The Full Nerd, where we cover PC hardware. Obviously, CES, that's what we're covering here is mainly PC hardware. So every time we come, we do a live show. We sit on a couch, drink some beers, talk about everything we've seen. It's usually a hoot. That has actually happened already by the time we post this. So go back and watch that episode.
Well, I hope it was good. Fun.
Oh man, we had a great time. We laughed.
Did you bring steaks this year like last time?
Oh yeah. We slopped them up.
Just get in there with the water, mushrooms all over. And
they can't stop you from ordering water and a steak.
No.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah,
I'm tired, man.
Look, you're halfway through.
Yeah,
this is the halfway point.
You're right.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks, Will.
Anytime, Adam. I hope you get a chance to go drive a tank over a Volkswagen bus later this week. There's that place out behind the Circus. Highly recommend it. It'd make a great video. You just sit in the front and you just blast over that thing, and smush it flat.
There has been a surprising amount of talk this CES of getting PC parts and going out and shooting them with a 50 caliber rifle.
Dude, no. People will be really upset given how hard it is to get PC parts right now.
Yeah, no, we're like, we could just get like a big stack of RAM and just no.
Here's $100,000 worth of RAM, 4 sticks.
Boom. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, have fun, stay safe, stay hydrated out there. It's dry in the desert, and hope don't touch your face, whatever you do. That's the number one rule of CES.
Always be touching.
Yeah.
That's my motto. So anyway, thanks everybody. We'll catch you in the next one.